And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's weather showing no big storms on the chart here, but a couple of weak ones, one over the Alaska Peninsula with some light rain there and some showers with a couple of weak lows up here over the interior. Thunderstorms to start and then turning into showers after midnight that last through the entire night into early tomorrow. And then a lot of moisture keeping it unsettled for the North Gulf Coast and Panhandle back to Kodiak Island. For tomorrow, that trough lifts up to the coastline there, so areas of rain and showers again south central Alaska into the northern Panhandle, but amounts will be lighter definitely than what was seen today. Scattered thunderstorms develop over the Tanana Valley once again, and this weak system keeps it wet over the Alaska Peninsula. And the day for Friday, stronger storm finally comes on the chart here, but stays well to the south, starting to pick the winds up in the southern Gulf of Alaska late in the day, otherwise high pressure. Dry conditions, light winds for the North Gulf Coast, less showers, and a little more sun over the interior on Friday. And weak low dropping south of the eastern Aleutians to the west. And for the coastal water forecast, south winds 15 knots for the central and south coast of the Panhandle tomorrow, 7-foot seas. And southeast 20 knots for the north coast. Southeast winds 15 knots for Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay. South winds at 10 knots for Clarence Strait. And then for the day on Friday, north to northeast breezes at about 10 knots here across all of the inside waters. East winds 10 knots on the south coast, and east winds 10 to 15 knots for the central and north coast. Cook Inlet, light variable winds north of the Forelands, south 15 there for the southern inlet, and southeast 25 for Kamishak Bay, southeast 20 in the Barren Islands. Small craft advisories for Prince William Sound and the eastern North Gulf Coast, looking at southeast winds at 25 knots for Thursday. And then for Friday, Prince William Sound winds turn north, drop off to 10 knots with seas subsiding to 2 feet. East winds at 15 for the eastern North Gulf Coast, northeast at 20 for the west side. East winds 20 knots here for the Barren Islands in across southern Cook Inlet. Northeast 15 for Cook Inlet itself. And for Kodiak Island, south winds 15 knots for Thursday. Variable to east to southeast winds 10 to 15 knots for the Alaska Peninsula and southeast to 20 for Bristol Bay. And for Kodiak Island on Friday, east northeasterlies 20 to 25 knots. Looks like it'll be strongest there in Shelikof Strait. East winds 20 to 25 knots for Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. And for the eastern Aleutians, variable to northwest winds 10 to 15 knots for the day Thursday, north at 15 for the Adak-Atka area, and variable winds 10 to 15 knots for the western Aleutians. And Friday, not much difference out west here. East-northeast winds at about 15 knots, north 15 knots for Adak-Atka over toward Nikolsky. And on Alaska Island, east winds 15 knots. Southwest coast tomorrow, we've got north winds 10 to 15 knots, north at 15 St. Lawrence Island. Northeast winds 15 knots here out over the Bering Sea from the Pribilofs to St. Matthew Island. And then for Friday, northeast 20 knots for the Pribilofs. Variable 10 for St. Matthew Island. Light winds for St. Lawrence Island, southwest 15 here for Norton Sound. East winds 20 knots for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, east to northeast winds 10 to 15 knots, northeast to 20 for the central and western Arctic coast and the Chukchi Sea. North to northwest winds at 20 to 25 knots. Then for Friday for the Chukchi Sea, south to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots. East winds 20 knots there for the western coast. Central coast east at 15 knots and east winds at 10 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea.